Hey, welcome. Welcome to this terrific Tuesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. I hope you were looking at my commentary from yesterday because I was talking about the markets and what's happening in the markets and that we want the markets to close above 27,000 to really take off. As we come into this hour today, 26,975, right on the brink of 27. And although I think there is one more clean out in the market, a close over 27, some good news, some executive orders next week, a payroll tax cut, and this market could break some all-time highs. Lots going on, lots I want to talk to you about. Main thing for today is I want to circle back on the Bitcoin front. And there are a lot of forces in the world right now that are picking away at capitalism. There's a lot of money being created out of thin air around the whole world. And Bitcoin continues to be an asset with a finite supply. That's predetermined, which is good news. And one of the big incentives for people to validate transactions on the blockchain so that Bitcoin transactions can go through is the bounty, which is the amount of Bitcoin you get each time you validate or verify or confirm that a transaction is a good transaction. Back in May, they call it the halving. Back in May, all those Bitcoins that are issued for people validating transactions, it's like a title company. You say, yes, 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 yes. This person has an asset. This person has some Bitcoin. We've verified it. Boom. All those people get a little fraction, a Satoshi, a little snippet of Bitcoins. And if you're validating millions and millions and millions of transactions all day long, if you end up with 1 or 2 Bitcoins every day, it's 9,000. It's 10,000, a half a Bitcoin every day. That creates supply, which dilutes the outstanding supply. The amount issued for a fee or a bounty for validating a transaction was cut in half in May. And many thought that would mean, oh my God, the whole system's going to fail and Bitcoin's going to get cut in half. Neither of those things happened. In fact, Bitcoin has been trading in a quite stable range since then, and there is less Bitcoin being issued than there was since its inception. So good things are happening. I know that I'm not a financial advisor. I got to say that a million times so no one goes out and does something crazy just because I said it. But I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2014, 15. And I even made a more recent purchase at much higher levels recently in October at 8,000. So I have a great deal of comfort in Bitcoin, even at these levels. And what I can tell you is this. It's trading in a nice tight range right now. It's at almost 9,400 on Bitcoin and 93.37, up 170 points. And I really think if it starts popping its head above 94, 95 in that range, it's going to break right through 10. To me, there's some resistance at 10,300. But the way global events are going and the way every day Bitcoin is finding more adopters out there, I really think we're at a crucial point where we could look up in 2 weeks and Bitcoin could be 12,000. So you might want to, if you've been listening to me here and there, and I always say do some homework, make sure it's suitable for you, put a small piece, diversify your portfolio. All those things still hold. But I would take a closer look at it if you're thinking about getting involved because there might be a nice pop headed your way very soon. I wasn't crazy about the market at these levels. I'm still not crazy about the market because I think there is just so much volatility. So much of the left-wing media is basically controlling our minds to think things are so bad. They're spiking, they're this, they're that. Cases are going to go up. The virus started in Washington in the Northwest, and it came across the country. It hit New York. It slammed the New York, New Jersey area, went to Louisiana, and now it's making its way out to other places. Florida's having problems. Texas is having problems. Georgia's having problems. Cases are going to increase. The main thing is we're still at a 99.94 survival rate. So 0.6 amount out of every 100 people are not surviving it. So it's still, just on the upper edges of a severe flu season. Many of the flu deaths this year were counted as COVID deaths. We're getting reports now where people are dying in car accidents and motorcycle accidents. And if COVID is detected inside of them, then they call it a COVID-related death. And hospitals are getting some crazy exorbitant number, like $38,000 for every patient that they've admitted that's COVID. So there is, unfortunately, a tremendous incentive for hospitals to figure out a way to say, yes, he's COVID. He had a car accident. He's got a broken leg. He needs 22 stitches in his head. But let's put him down as a COVID patient because he tested positive. And there's all kinds of stuff out there on the internet about some women who worked in a testing facility sent in 5 swabs with no swab on them. They knew it for sure. They didn't swab anything, and they sent them in blank the way they came. All 5 of them came back positive. So strange things are happening, and it's very rare that you see a presidential administration take a power away from a government agency. So the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, would usually be in charge of taking in all the results and tabulating who tested positive, who has antibodies and everything else. But the Trump administration feels like some of these people in the CDC are cooperating with blue states and they are not reporting them properly. So the president has actually taken the test reporting away from the CDC, taking it in-house to the White House, to the coronavirus task force. And I gotta tell you, it's strange. So that tells me something is afoot. I'm not a crazy enough conspiracy theorist, yes, to say none of this is real, because it's real. 120 some odd thousand people have died from COVID or COVID-related issues. Many people we know lost a loved one, lost a friend, lost a colleague, lost someone. So I don't want to say it's not real, but I think the reporting and the manipulation of the cases and the reporting of it by the left-wing media is trying to foment more fear, fright, and hysteria. And I think, the underlying goal is quite clear at this point. The left has made Joe Biden their empty vessel that they're going to all throw in all kinds of different components, like a little robot. And you got Bernie Sanders on the team. You got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the team, who wants to take away. AOC's in charge of the green movement, in the new Biden administration. She wants to take away cars, anything operated by fuel, cars, planes, trains, coal, petroleum, and gasoline. So anything operated by petroleum or coal, every power plant in our whole entire country pretty much runs on coal, in case you didn't know that, There are approximately 10 million people who work in the mines, minerals, and drilling businesses. And to think that Joe Biden is going to put the future of us, you, your kids, in the hands of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that's scary. Let's move on. They want to defund the police. So Donald Trump has a very effective ad out right now where someone calls 911 and they say, hello, this is 911. We are no longer answering calls at 911 because we have been defunded. If you're calling to report a rape, press 1. If you're calling to report a murder, press 2. If you're calling to report a robbery, press 3. The estimated wait time is 5 days. So that's coming your way under a Biden administration. So they were looking to defund the police. They're looking to take away our trains, planes, and automobiles, anything gasoline related, anything coal related. So I don't know. We'll all be living with fans and windmills all around us, or solar panels, who knows. And then yesterday, part of Joe Biden's administration was announced a couple of weeks ago is one and only Beto O'Rourke. okay, who was a presidential candidate. He failed as a Senate candidate. He fails as a presidential candidate. But the one important thing he said during the presidential debates, when he was putting himself out there for all of America to get to know, was that, hell yeah, I want to take away your guns. So he wants to get rid of the Second Amendment and the government take away everyone's guns. Well, there's a prosecutor that was just elected in St. Louis, Missouri. 80% of her campaign contributions came from George Soros. This is all fact. This is all out there, okay? And you know the McCloskey family? They came out in front of their house to protect it with licensed weapons on their own property. When the thugs had broken through their gated area fence and come inside, they didn't shoot them. They didn't even point at them. They threatened them. The McCloskeys had their guns confiscated, and both of them were charged with a felony yesterday. So I'm going to keep you up to date on all this stuff, but we'll take a quick break, come back with more Liquid Lunch right after this.
I'm President Donald Trump, and I have the greatest hair you've ever seen. If you watch Liquid Lunch, you'll see that John Tobacco has probably one of the worst hairlines ever, but watch it anyway. It's a good show.
All righty, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. No, that was not Donald Trump, our president, but it was one heck of an impersonator. Johnny DiDomenico did a whole bunch of little promos for us months back. And while there's probably 6 or 7 different ones that he did, Nico, my producer, loves to select that one because he of course, makes fun of my hairline, which happens. But anyway, look, business folks out there, we are in a scary, scary predicament here, okay? All your small businesses, all your work-from-home businesses are literally under attack right now. And especially if you live in a blue state with a blue governor or a blue city with a blue mayor, they have a vested interest in not allowing businesses to go back to full operation. Believe me when I tell you, it's an orchestrated left-wing plan to keep Joe Biden in hiding, okay? Keep Donald Trump off the campaign trail, and suppress this economy no matter how much they have to do, to the point where they have activated the left wing, okay? And people say, oh, those silly liberals. I'm liberal in a lot of ways, okay? And I've said this many times. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sex you are. I don't care what you identify as. I don't care if you want to smoke pot. I don't believe that the government should be involved in women's wombs. So there are a lot of things that even me, your friend Johnny T, I'm liberal on. These people from the Black Lives Matter movement, they are not to be deemed liberals because they're not. That's what we think is the worst thing you could say about them. No, they're real left-wing liberals. They're not. They're American communists. They want a socialist society. They're telling us straight out. Joe Biden put out a whole manifesto the other day that Bernie Sanders and AOC and Elizabeth Warren dictated to him. Okay, and you know what it talks about? He doesn't say the words defund the police, okay? But what he does talk about is eliminating and cutting down to almost nothing Customs and Border Patrol to keep our country safe. ICE, they want to eliminate ICE, immigration, okay? So those are all law enforcement agencies. So although they craftily kept Joe Biden away from signing on to defund the police, his manifesto that the American communists put together for him lays out quite clearly the diminishing law enforcement departments that he wants to have in this new Biden's Communist America Party, okay? It's freaking scary, all right? My father's a cop. I'm proud as heck to support the cops. I've done rallies. I attended the Boost the Blue rally that was here in Staten Island the other night. I've done all kinds of different fundraisers over the years. I'm a cop's kid, so I'm allowed to support cops, and that doesn't mean I'm against Black Lives Matter, because I am for the sentence, yes, Black Lives Matter. I am against this sham of an organization who has hijacked a sentence, turned it into a hashtag, and created a no-win situation for anyone who doesn't say, yes, Black Lives Matter. And they're not looking, it's evidenced everywhere. Hundreds and hundreds of kids are being shot all around the country. Majority of them are same race crimes, okay? Kids, coronavirus, I think, took, so far, under 18, I think 50, do we have that number the other day, Jess? Like 50 people died in the whole country, 300 million people. 50 kids under 18, I think, have died. Most of them have pre-existing conditions, okay? Hundreds of kids have been shot, some to death, some seriously injured, have been shot with a gun since the whole defund the police has started happening. So if Black Lives Matter, why isn't Al Sharpton out there at Donnell Evans' family house in the Bronx after he got killed, in Brooklyn after he got killed, a 1-year-old kid? Where's Al Sharpton? Where's the gold coffin they had for George Floyd? Where's the $14 million GoFundMe page for all these parents? And they got to go on Fox News. They got to go on Fox News, which the left hates. And these crimes are happening in inner city, a lot of them, not all of them, okay? They got to go on Fox News to tell their story because the left don't want to put the truth in front of you. They don't care about black lives unless it's a way to foment hate and fright and terror. And if it's a black person who's killed by a white cop, then that's a check all the boxes, round all the bases, go directly to jail, do not pass go. It's the whole enchilada for them. And anything else, all these other lives that are black lives, they don't matter because you don't hear about them. But you keep hearing about defund the police. Okay. I want to thank Mesa, Jess's mom, who stays tuned to the show all the time. And I try not to be a homer and only use like memes and pictures that come from my friends and my team. I try to use them from everybody. But on this one, there was a beautiful, peaceful, pro-police march. Okay, take a look at that. Now, last week in New York, there was a peaceful clergy march, and some agitators didn't want it to look good, so they came out and busted it up, started smashing cops over the head with canes and all this other stuff. A number of cops were hurt in it, okay, because they didn't want to agitate it. So you saw that all over the news because the lady was smashing the cop over the head with a cane. I didn't see this anywhere. It took Mesa, Jess's mom, to send it to Jess and say, send this to John. Look how beautiful that is. Look how many people are out there peacefully supporting the police. And then I think we have a little video of some violence that broke out. Yep, let's take a look at that. You don't see any news media saying, hey, look at all these people that are out there in support of the cops. My good buddy, Citizen Scott, they call him. He's the conservative artist. He paints the flags. He painted flags across the whole country. Had the Boost the Blue rally last week to people to get together and stand up for the cops and say, hey, we're with you. Hundreds and hundreds of people turned out. Yesterday, he tried to start painting a blue line on the median, on a main street that runs from one end of our little town here to the other, Staten Island, New York. And as he was painting the blue line, not defacing Black Lives Matter, putting a blue line next to it, these animal protesters are behind him, scrolling all over the blue line, all kinds of stuff. And it's like, we're at a bad point right here. We're going to pick it up in just a couple of minutes here with Toby Mathis. He's an attorney, financial analyst, and business tax expert. Talk about the emergency declaration and tax day, which just passed. Quick break, more Liquid Lunch after this. So close, but yet so far. Dow raging a little more here, up 307 points at 26,985 as we speak. I really want to break that 27,000 level, show a little strength in here, and close above it today and for the rest of the week. I think a close above 27,000. Donald Trump was talking on Sunday when he was beating the crap out of Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. He was talking about the loss they had at the Supreme Court about overturning some of Barack Obama's executive privilege. Actually gave them a silver lining that they can do. They feel they can do a lot more now by executive privilege. And I think one of the things he's going to do is a payroll tax cut, which I've been suggesting to Stephen Moore and others for a while. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I play one on TV. Certainly not a tax expert, and I don't play one on TV either. But with the deadline for filing July 15th passing, I figure for all our business owners out there, give you some tips on what you need to know. We bring in Toby Mathis. He joins us today from Vegas. He's an attorney, financial analyst, and business tax expert with Anderson Business Advisors. And Toby, man, we were talking before you came on how, you know, the bureaucracy is just great at one thing, screwing everything up. What do people need to know? July 15th just passed. You got a little deferment from January from April to July. What do people need to know to protect themselves for starters? Like, what's one thing? Hey, make sure you do this.
I would be patient. It's going to sound weird from a tax guy, but the number one thing you should do, hopefully you filed an extension and you didn't try to file your tax return on time. And it's a theory on time. July 15th is the April 15th of this year. So they just said, hey, basically all your taxes are due on July 15th. Your first return due date, which is the suggested due date. The actual deadline is October 15th for an individual return. And realistically, there's too many questions out there, too many head scratchers with regards to the PPP. So if you're a small business owner, hopefully you filed an extension so you're not having to go back and doing an amendment depending on what the powers that be decide on certain activities. There's certain
all right, so let me put myself in your position, right? Let me put myself in a business owner's position. I'm a sole proprietor on an LLC, right? I don't take W-2 earnings, right? And I'm basically a single filer, right? So you're saying July 15th was only a recommendation and my actual filing date is October 15th.
Yeah, all taxpayers are entitled to an automatic extension. So we get a 6-month extension. So in your case, where it's an LLC disregarded, so it's a sole proprietorship, you're filing on your Schedule C of your 1040. Your due date for your taxes was actually July 15th, and that's the initial due date of the return. But you have an automatic extension that takes you all the way to October 15th.
Got it.
And yeah.
So I honestly, my accountant who's been doing my stuff for years was literally like phone off the hook busy, you know what I mean? And I was trying to do some reading and stuff. And I said, all right, well, there's got to be some out clause. And then he said, all right. And when he finally got back to me, he says, you're fine, but we'll get to it in a few days. But other people should know they're good till October 15th on an auto extension, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Just give yourself some time. You still owe the tax.
So
you should get your estimate, get an idea, but don't put yourself in a situation where you can't make changes if it's in your best interest before October.
Got it. Okay, so let's say my small business got a small PPP loan and kept the requisite amount of people employed during that time. And I'm just giving you a composite. This wasn't me, but I'm saying a business, they got a little PPP, they kept the requisite amount of people. What are their obligations right now from a tax perspective?
So from a tax perspective, there's nothing right now, but it could affect you this year for 2020, which you could carry back into 2019. They changed the laws, so if you manage to create a loss, you could actually carry it back. So they go hand in hand. So you want to be looking at both returns together, depending on what your scenario is. If you're a restaurant owner and you're really getting hit and you're probably looking at a loss, you need to really be serious about, maybe I file early on my 2020 as soon as I can, and carry back a loss to get some of the money back that I paid in 2019. And I want to know what those numbers are, and basically which bracket I want that money to fall into. Somebody had a great 2019. This is a get out of jail free card, where you can go back in and capture some of that excess, in the higher brackets where the state's hitting you, maybe your city's hitting you, the federal government's hitting you, and here you can go back and get some of that high bracket money. The other side to it was, under the PPP, they have a forgiveness, and they extended it to 24 weeks, 8 or 24. 8 was the initial, and then they extended it. But most people, if you maintained your staff, you're not going to have to pay it back. And in the CARES Act, it says that's not going to be considered indebtedness forgiveness for tax purposes, meaning that you don't have to pay tax on the money that you received from the bank, or
right. It's not a gift. It's not. You don't have to pay a gift tax, basically.
You don't have to pay. Ordinarily, if I loan you money and then I say, don't pay me back, that's income to you. I issue you a 1099-C and you recognize that as income. It's like I paid you.
Yep.
And here they said, oh, don't recognize it. But then the Treasury says, well, you can't deduct anything you spend that money on, which means they just made it taxable again.
Right. It's like a circle. It's like the circle of life, right? I was mentioning to you before, I was listening to some of these calls with, during the PPP, the Small Business Administration, the regional director, the FDIC, the Fed. There was so much confusion because there were like 4 different agencies that were involved in this thing. And the banks kept saying, hey, we want a safe harbor. You're telling us to get this money out as quick as possible, but then you're going to come back next year and start telling us we didn't process this right, we didn't process that right. Do taxpayers almost have a little bit of a safe harbor in the next filing period because there's been so much confusion and chaos?
No. When you owe the IRS money, they're an ogre. When they owe you money, they're kind of meek. Right. They disappear. It's bad, John. It's really bad. I think it was in Fresno. They had truckloads of mail over during the quarantine that they just never opened, and that's all the paper returns. That's all the correspondence from taxpayers, and one of the threads that I'm on, some of the CPAs are looking at it, going, "There's literally truckloads of unopened mail." And here these guys come back, and they're not really back yet. The IRS is underfunded and understaffed as it is, and it's a dumpster fire.
Hey,
and it's going to get worse.
We got 2 minutes left here. I want to just get your perspective on active versus passive investing. I have been encouraging my viewers to at least educate themselves on finding, IRA qualified passive investments like alt type things, leases and stuff like that. What do you see the difference between active versus passive investing?
I went to Catholic school. So active to me is you're goofing off and the nuns go up and smack you. Passive is you're doing something good. You help the old lady across the street and they give you a noogie and they say, good boy. In fact, tax comes from the Latin root of taxare, which means to censure, express severe disapproval. So active income, you get hit on, period. Like you go to McDonald's and you work for I used to work for $4 an hour. You get maybe $3.20 of it. Passive, you're getting a lot more. Sometimes you're getting the full $4.
And then there is, if you're doing it in a qualified or self-directed IRA, there is some tax later. But it's going to be at a significantly lower rate. And then, there are a lot of new things. Even Bitcoin is now allowed for self-directed IRAs. Do you guys give any, weigh in on, that as an alternative investment at all?
No, the Bitcoin to me is a little bit scary just because it doesn't have an underlying asset. I tend to be stuff like, I like Dividend Kings, companies that have been paying out dividends a long time, and I love real estate. Real estate for a tax person, you don't have to pay tax. I could get it to where if you retire and you decide you're going to go into real estate, I could probably get your tax bracket to 0.
Wow. All right. Well, and that's where we got to keep you on the show here, because I'm going to retire soon and get into real estate, and you're going to get my taxes to 0. All right. That's Toby Mathis, attorney, financial analyst, and business tax expert with Anderson Business Advisors. Toby, thanks so much for joining us. You stay
Pleasure.
right there. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our favorite. What is she now? A Gen Z? Pavlina Osta is going to be with us right after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. Lots of important things going on around the world, and it is a terrific Tuesday. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. You know, unfortunately, in the last segment, we're trying to get more to the core with our business audience, and most of the people in our audience own a business. They own the business. They work for a business. There's a lot to know in these crazy times. And yesterday, we were talking about a terrible topic. Child sex trafficking and pedophilia, which is disgusting. And unfortunately, another turd of a topic today, taxes. Everybody hates taxes, but we did that. We checked it off the list with Toby Mathis, and he's a great one, okay? And now, for many of you who are sitting back collecting your government check and saying, I'm on unemployment, and my rent is deferred for 2 months, so I don't have any bills, I can just drink tequila all day long, and I'm on the government dime. Big problems coming your way for millions of Americans, and their rent bill is coming due. And my favorite Gen Zer, Pavlina Osta, joins us right now. She's a producer for Salem Media, and I just have to tell you, if God had a podcast, she'd be the host of it, and she is. Hello, Pavlina. How are you? So what's happening? Evictions are coming our way. Government is talking about cutting off the extra unemployment stuff. This is going to be Gen Z Armageddon.
Yeah, it is just, millennials and Gen Zs just don't get a break. They really don't get a break. But
poor Gen Zs.
I know. I feel bad. You know, they're just starting their lives, for the most of them at least. You know, they're starting their lives. They're, you know, recently out of college, or maybe they've been out of college for a few years, and they're like, you know, they're getting the ball rolling with things, and they just can't get a break. So a lot of them, you know, maybe some of them are receiving the unemployment and everything, and they're coasting, drinking tequila, doing whatever they're doing. But a lot of Americans, millions actually, are missing their rent payments. And 23 million have little to no confidence that they're going to make next month's rent payment. And it's just really scary. You know, the White House is negotiating with Congress on another round of economic relief. So hopefully we'll see that soon. That should be like the last week of July. I think they're going to need it because the homeless rate is going to skyrocket. Eviction rates are going to skyrocket. So we definitely need, they're going to need some government assistance.
So Pav, let me, I love talking to you on some of this stuff because you're always receptive to like the basic fundamentals. You actually want to learn, which is unlike a lot of young people I encounter these days. But, and pardon me for chewing on my baklava. That,
I'm jealous you guys have baklava.
She brought
like,
me these
I want baklava.
beautiful Middle Eastern desserts.
Right.
And they're flaky, tasty, fresh, delicious. She said she's going to bring you some today. But what's got to happen is this, Pav. You got the crazy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out there saying suspend mortgage payments, right? You got the Gen Zers who are saying, wait a minute, we can't pay our rent. The way to fix it is, down in Washington, they have to do a deal for the banks, right? Because if you don't pay your rent and your mortgage, then the bank doesn't get paid, right? And you're paying rent to someone who takes your money and pays their mortgage. When the banks aren't getting paid the mortgages, then the banks go belly up. And that's called a run on the bank. If our banks start going belly up, and we have a huge problem on our hand, we have a run on the bank. People will be running for their money and it's not there. So the problem, they got us in a tricky one here, Pav, because AOC and all of them are railing against bailing out the banks and helping the big companies. But if you want to give people free rent and free mortgages, if you don't help the banks, then the banks are going to go belly up. Can you put that into a much smarter, much prettier Gen Z message and get it out there? That's the only way we can do this, is we have to bail out the banks then.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's literally how this whole thing works. So, you know, you pay your landlord or whoever it is, and then they pay, you know, everyone else, the banks and stuff. And it's one of those things where I think what's going to have to happen is we're going to need like more stimulus checks, because that is such a complicated process. I think, in my opinion, it's just like, wouldn't it be easier to, you know, a lot of people aren't even receiving their unemployment, which I think is a big problem. Like, I think that's the biggest issue with a lot of this, is a lot of people are like slipping through the safety net of like they should be receiving their unemployment and other things. And that's another reason they're not able to pay their rent. So if we are able to just get them, everyone that needs it, their unemployment, that would help people paying their rent, because it would just, the cycle, the cause and effect for all of this would just be really catastrophic. Wow.
No doubt about it. Tricky, crazy world we're living in right now. A little earlier, I let you get away with it, but you said, you know, us Gen Zs, we can't get a break and everything else. I think everybody's on break right now. The last time I looked, you know, I know you're a hard-working person, but I got friends of mine who were telling me that they're calling their workers, young kids, 27, 28, 32, they're calling them saying, hey, come on back to work. And they're like, nah, I'm good. I'm getting more staying at home. So, you know, some of them are getting a big break.
Yes. Okay. So on the opposite side of this, there are people who are making more on unemployment, getting the $600 a week, and they would rather stay on the government's dime and do that than go back to work. So there's two sides of this that it's just like not really fair for, you know, certain people. Like the people that should be going back to work should be going back to work. I know you're making more on unemployment, and that might be nice. Hopefully you've saved some of it. But go back to work, please. Like, we need to get things rolling again. And then there's the other side of it with people who can't go back to work, or maybe, you know, their businesses, whoever they work for, are still closed, or maybe they're still working from home, or maybe they lost their job. Now they're trying to find another job, and then they can't pay their rent. So there's two sides that are just kind of like, okay, are you the, you know, Gen Z that is saving all, or, you know, getting all of this unemployment, and you're kind of like also going on a shopping spree because you're staying in mom's basement, or are you like struggling?
Yeah, there you go. Can I move in mom's basement? I live right next door. Maybe if I move in my mom's basement, I can get a check from the government and go on a shopping spree. That sounds like fun.
I know. Doesn't that sound like the dream right
Pav,
now?
listen, we got 1 minute left.
Okay.
Jess is shaking her head. Jess is saying, I like this other topic. Can you hang out with us for a few minutes and we'll do one more segment?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break right now. You're watching Liquid Lunch. We're ending segment hour 1. But do not, under any circumstance, move unless you're going to get a nice cold drink. That you could do. Report back to the TV screen as shortly as possible. Pavlina Nosta and I will join you again right after this.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, welcome back. We're just kicking off hour 2 of a terrific Tuesday. And, you know, I like to put the best guest in the beginning or the end because we want to have a great opening. You get a great guest. And then if you have a closer for the hour, then you want to promote it the whole hour. And then everybody waits to watch the last one. So lucky today. That's why it's Terrific Tuesday, because I got to close out hour 1 with the closer, Pavlina Osta. And then she was nice enough to hang around and kick off hour 2 in the leadoff spot, which will keep everybody rolling. And we got Tisha Powell coming up next, Brian Boyd, 30-year intelligence analyst. Lots of great stuff to talk about. But Pav, before we got cut off in the last segment, and that's why I wanted you to hang around, because I think this is a really important issue. Some of these Black Lives Matter folks, it's been proven at their own words that they are trained Marxists. And some of what they want to do are tear down monuments to our history, remove individualism from society. And in the Marx Manifesto, they even talk about the elimination of the nuclear family. And the breakdown of the nuclear family helps them, homogenize the whole society, that there are no patriarchal characters or matriarchal characters. It's like one big village. They took it to the next level now, and they're talking about, pulling down Jesus statues. And I feel like that's the real goal, because Marxists don't want you to have religion either, because that's another way to demonstrate your individuality. But young kids are smartening up to this, and the people in your generation and all the millions of people who listen to If God Had a Podcast, they're turning to God more right now. Isn't that true?
Yeah, which is really great to see, because I know for a long time there was sort of this decline into more secularism, and but now we're starting to see this resurgence into more spirituality, I would say, than religious. They're sort of they don't really practice religion in the same way that we're kind of used to seeing, because they're more interested in culture and music. I kind of think like Kanye and Justin Bieber sort of deal, and they're just really desperate for community, I think, at this point. I really think that, millennials and Gen Zs are just, the tools that we have, the social media that's supposed to connect us, all of these different things that are supposed to be very connecting aren't connecting. And we are social beings, we want to be around people. We want to have like-minded opinions, and everything is so divided. Everything is so political and black and white. And it's just oh my gosh, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to escape, that a lot of them are turning to religion. They're turning to more spiritual mindsets, and that's helping a lot of them find different communities that they can kind of be a part of.
I think, I'm Catholic raised, but I'm not the biggest cheerleader for some of the practices of the Catholic Church over the years. But, I do believe in Jesus Christ and the Lord Almighty. And I think, faith is one of the things, if you don't have, you can never get anywhere in life. And I feel like everything that's happening around is almost starting to desensitize people to the point where they're losing their faith. And it's amazing, great news. That's why I wanted you to give our audience some good news to hear that the young people are actually using this time to find some faith and spirituality.
I think they need it at this point. It's just, we're in such a secular world that everything is material based. Everything is, we live in a material society, and it's just all based on material things. But they really want to break it back down to the basics, and they're tired of relying on everything is on the self. And so that's so much pressure when you think about it. It's like self-help, authentication, building the self, all of this self-building, that it's really nice to have, whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whatever you want to believe, as some sort of higher power. And I also think it's a better way to think anyway. Just, to think that we are just the way we are and there's nothing bigger than us is a little naive in my perspective.
All right. Well, thank God we are what we are. And I love you just the way you are. Don't go changing. Okay. We got to leave it there. But Pav, thank you so much. Check out If God Had a Podcast, because Pavlina is a worldwide phenomenon. Thank you, darling. We're going to take a quick break right here. Come back with famed, nationally acclaimed attorney Tisha Powell right after this. Welcome back, folks. I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes. I'm still corona free. All right, welcome back. I got a lot of feedback yesterday, getting deep down the rabbit hole on the pedo-gate, pizza-gate, pedophile, hot dogs, sauce, all this other stuff. A lot of people were egging me on last night. I had a few friends over. We were in the back. We had a few. Frank bought me this giant bottle of Woodford Reserve. So we had a few of those on ice and some pizza and stuff. And my friends were like, you gotta do more, you gotta do more. I'm like, I know, but people are gonna start thinking I'm really crazy. But Someone sent this to me, and I've checked it. It's all over the internet. If it wasn't true, I would imagine someone would come out and disclaim this. But I'm going to read this to you. We're waiting for Tisha Powell to join us. She is a nationally recognized legal analyst, also the author of Trump Must Win, Discover the Dark Days America Will Face If Trump Isn't Reelected, and that's for sure. But on the Pizzagate, for those of you who are interested, this is a little long, but I want to read it because I think it needs to be read to be most effective. It says, Justin Bieber told hundreds of people at a Bible study class in Los Angeles that Hollywood elites killed his unborn child and destroyed the relationship he had with Selena Gomez as a way of punishing him. Since finding God last year, Bieber has become a regular at a Bible study class held in Montage in Beverly Hills. On Wednesday, he shared what he called the worst moment in my life. With the congregation, he explained why he had to retire from the music industry, telling churchgoers he will never go back to the evil music industry until the pedophiles and monsters at the top of the game are run out of town and until everything is disinfected with bleach and sunshine. And then he explained how Hollywood elites tried to corrupt him. They tried so hard to corrupt me, he said, because I reached a level they couldn't control anymore. More to talk about, but Tisha Powell joins us right now. She's on the line. She's with us in the Zoom room. And Tisha Powell, nationally recognized attorney, also the author of Trump Must Win, Discover the Dark Days America Will Face If Trump Isn't Reelected in 2020. Hey, Tisha, how are you?
Good, John. Thanks for having me.
Stop playing with your hair. You look great. You look fantastic. We're almost matching today. I have my salmon-colored shirt, and you have the salmon-colored dress. It's a good contrast. I like it. So,
and salmon is my favorite food, so now everyone knows I love salmon. I eat it 2-3 days a week.
All right. So it's all salmon all the time on this edition of Liquid Lunch. But Tisha, let me ask you this. I was talking a little earlier in the show about all the fear, fright, and hysteria about kids going back to school and all this stuff. I think there's a grand total of like under 50 kids under 18 who have died from COVID. So like the under 18 population has been barely affected from COVID. But since the defunct the police has come around, we're getting dozens of kids shot every day, every week. Why don't they care about all the kids getting shot?
I know, don't kids' life matters. I mean, I get it that Black lives matter, police lives matter, but what about Black baby lives? What about baby lives matter? What about children? I mean, they are the future. We might have already shot who knows, the next president. We don't know what these kids' gifts are. We know that they came to us from God and they had gifts to present to us, and it's all gone. I mean, John, this is sad. Children are being shot and killed. I mean, this is the United States of America. I mean, where is our morality? John, it's sad news. It's sad. And it's disappointing. It's like a scary monster. You know, we have to stop this. We have to
It's a scary monster. I know. Well, look, I don't think, there's, we just had Pavlina on. Pavlina was talking about how a lot of the Gen Z generation is finding God or finding at least some spirituality during this time. And the more I start looking at all this craziness going on in the world, I feel like it's all bubbling up really to a fight between good and evil. It's not left and right, Democrat, Republican, man, woman, black, white. It's really good versus evil. And I don't think that, defunking the police is going to evict evil from society, myself.
Yes, and I did say defunk because I was people say defunk or defund, but that sounds to me what they're trying to do. You see what happened in Chicago? That police were injured and there were 10 people that died. John, when you read these papers, you can't believe this is the United States of America. It doesn't sound like a civilized country to me. It just sounds like evil is on the riot. And it just seems as if we need police protection just to deter those who are dangerous, who want to hurt us. And people do want to hurt other people in America. So when you have AOC saying we don't need this budget, or Mayor de Blasio saying to cut this budget, do they really understand the power of evil? That there are people out there that want to hurt other people?
Yeah, it's getting crazy by the minute. I want you to know that I know you were saying defunk the police, and I thought it was very clever how you combined the two words, the debunk and the defund, into one, defunk. And I like it. You know what I mean?
I'll use it.
Yeah, you got it. We should come up with a song, like, you know what I mean?
Don't defunk our police.
Yeah. Or she got the funk. Oh yes, defunk.
Don't want defunk. We don't want defunk.
All right, let me. I'm playing around a little bit because things are just getting so crazy. I'm just lighting it up a little bit, but you know, the woke left crowd wants to defund the police and get rid of the police. We have blue states all across the country who are implementing cashless bail. So whoever's left as police, if they do catch a criminal, they bring them in, they let them out in 2 seconds with no bail. So there's really not a lot of incentive for cops to even lock people up. But now it's going to the next level. We had a federal judge shot here in New Jersey. And if this crowd is getting so crazy that they're taking aim at cops, that's like one of the pillars of our society, that judges are like untouchable.
And that's correct. And I'm just wondering how much of this is a coincidence that this person probably thought, there will be more police. Let's go ahead and kill. I mean, it was a crazy lawyer who had just a little time to live. He had cancer. And rather than do what most normal people would do, which is spend time with his family, he came up with some crazy idea that he's going to go after his enemies. I mean, you know, this person is just sick in their head. They're just sick all over. You know, you sometimes wonder about the state of mind of these people, but thank God the culprit, you know, he ended up dying himself. But just to take others with him, that's really a tragedy, John. Just to mess with other people's life and just leaving their family behind. It's just a mess. And I just think to myself, and people don't want police?
I can't believe it.
People don't want us to have police to protect us.
Yeah, I don't know who wouldn't want to have police, but I can tell you this. Donald Trump has, I don't know if you saw it, a new ad that's really effective. It's someone calling 911 and like an automated system answers, hey, there's no more 911 operators because we've been defunded. Press 1 for a murder, press 2 for a robbery, press 3 for a rape. Our estimated wait time is 5 days for someone to get back to you. That message has got to keep getting hit home to people that they really want to take away our cops. It's scary.
And I think people should share that video. I saw that video as well. And it is the reality. President Trump is trying to show us the reality of what's going to happen if we keep reducing the police budget. This is just what's going to happen. Evil people are on earth and they want to hurt us. And I know AOC thinks this is some game. Mayor Bill de Blasio, he's busy, you know, painting up those whatever Black Lives Matters. And the crime rate is just skyrocketing. And nobody's just like, they're like, we don't need police. I mean, come on. John, obviously these people are sick in their head to think they don't need police. I mean, seriously speaking, who in their right mind don't want to have a police in order to keep the peace? Just deter crime. People seeing a cop in a uniform, they're still afraid. That's the whole point. They're afraid of hurting someone else. We still need that. Not because you have a few bad cops mean that we're going to go ahead and just have no cops. This is not fair to all of us. And I'm a Black mother and I'm afraid of living in America without any police presence, okay?
Right.
I'm a Black person afraid to live in America if you are going to take away the police
All right.
money.
All right. Thank you, my dear. You're great. And
So-
we got to leave it there because we got to run. We got a quick break here. That's Tisha
Take care,
Powell,
John.
nationally recognized legal analyst, author of the book Trump Must Win. Take a quick break. Come back with some more news of the day right after this. This is the sound of me eating a baklava.
Jess, can we make a meme where it says no one at the top and then secondary, the picture would be just John eating a baklava?
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
Okay, so there is some debate going on out there about whether or not Justin Bieber is trying to be a canary in the coal mine and talk about, you know, this alleged elitist Hollywood pedophile ring that apparently sacrifices and savages children, uses them for their sexual deviancy, and then drinks their blood and eats their adrenal glands after terrorizing and torturing them. I don't know. I'm doing my homework on it. Definitely exists. I don't have any empirical evidence yet, but I'm trying to get to some. I do know a lot of people who kind of talk about this or whatever. They get exiled out of Hollywood. They're the hottest new thing, and then all of a sudden they're gone. I'm going to use this, and I'm only going to talk about this with the understanding that this is on Facebook, publicly out there, and if I were Justin Bieber or anyone else, if someone was saying I said this stuff and I didn't, I'd get out there and get it taken down, or I'd report it to Facebook, because it's simple. Say this is about me, it's not true, and it will be gone in 2 seconds. But it lives, okay? And Justin Bieber apparently was telling this Bible study that he goes to about how, you know, he was threatened by this elitist satanic cabal in the Hollywood entertainment business. And he said he'll never go back to the music industry. It's evil until the pedophile monsters at the top of the game are run out of town. Okay, this is attributed to Justin Bieber. And he said, they tried to destroy me with alcohol. When that didn't work, they tried drugs. All different kinds. When that didn't work, they tried to destroy me with ambition. I was interested at first, but when I realized what the price of admission is in that world, I had to quit. Selena and I were expecting. It was early days. We hadn't told anyone. At the same time, I was being courted by some really powerful people, the most powerful in Hollywood. He described a top-secret party attended by record industry executives. Bieber said he was shown into a back room where a group of men were wearing masks, was sitting around the edge of the room drinking from cups. In the center of the room was a dead child sitting cross-legged, propped up against the back of a chair. It looked like a late-stage child, a fetus, and was completely drained of blood. The baby's scalp wasn't there. The skull was gone. Portions of the right side had been torn away. They were wearing animal masks, sitting around drinking what they called red wine. They offered me some. It was really important that I got involved. I literally gagged. I'm not going to read these parts because they're absolutely gruesome, but I'll share the post later. The horrific death described by Bieber is called exsanguination, otherwise known as completely draining a person of their blood. Popular among drinkers of baby blood, who consume what they call red wine in order to get high on the adrenaline, young hormones, and negative energy that they feel is in the blood of children. And they believe more a child suffers before its death, the more enriched its blood will be upon harvest. And he's saying that, you know, it's completely flipped him out. He lost his way for a long time. I went off the rails. Me and Selena were actually driven apart by these people and the trauma. Years have passed. Acknowledging the rumors that the pair are back together, Bieber even hinted he's set to become a family man. He was quoted as saying, they are truly evil forces in this world. God is real. Satan is real. They won't lay a hand on my family, so help me God. Sounds like, he's pretty into it. I would encourage you to take a look at some of the stuff Elijah Wood has out there on social media about, some of the things he said. And there is a growing number of people around Hollywood who seem to be trying to come out, but you just don't know how deep this, allegedly satanic cult is. But I can tell you this. Look up Blake Lively. Blake Lively, at some award ceremony that wasn't that highly covered, I guess, did a whole presentation on child sex trafficking, child porn, and pedophilia. And she talked about how she cannot have this platform and be a mom at the same time and know things are happening and just sit there and not say anything from it. So you got, think about it. You got Mel Gibson. You got Justin Bieber. You got Elijah Wood. You got, what's his name? The guy, Cappy guy. Isaac Cappy, they killed him. He came out. They killed him. You got Corey Feldman. You had Corey Haim, who lost it after he was molested in a pedophile ring when he was 11 years old, committed suicide. So there's a growing number of people that were huge celebrities who are now kind of blacklisted out or dead. And they're starting to come to the forefront a little more and more. And I'm wondering why a guy like Justin Bieber, who has all the money in the world, he can get all the security he wants. He can get his own police force if he wants. I can tell you there's going to be plenty of cops available for you to hire if you need a police force, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar are trying to defund the police, so a lot of cops will be available. But I don't understand why a guy like Justin Bieber wouldn't protect his family and then come out in front of the microphones and protect the millions of kids who are engaged in sex trafficking and sexual enslavement across the world. Why wouldn't he come out and say, here's how it goes. Here's who I know are involved. And if you start picking people off, then they all start chirping and talking. And before you know it, there's going to be a big roundup. I don't understand why one real celebrity, if you don't have that thirst, that ego to be back in the scene, why wouldn't you want to be the one who finally opened the door to stopping the sexual harassment, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and in some places the murder and eating, cannibalism of children? Somebody's got to do it. I wish someone would do it. I wish it was Justin Bieber, because it makes a lot of sense. He got a bad rap for a while. And it makes sense if he turned down the bloodlettings, the exsanguination ceremony. They knew they didn't have control over this guy anymore, so they did some other horrible things. In recent months, Nicole Kidman, Mel Gibson, and Lindsay Lohan have spoken out about pedophilia in Hollywood. Close friends Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington claim the recently deceased pair were working on exposing the pedophile ring working at the heart of the music industry and cost them their lives. So, I don't know. There is mounting evidence that no one is disputing. And if people were saying this stuff about me or someone I knew and I knew it wasn't true, I'd get it down. So we're going to take a quick break. A guy who's a lot smarter at intelligence and breaking down real news, Brian Boyd, is going to join us right after this. He's a 30-year intelligence analyst. He's worked in Treasury, Defense, State, every government agency, top levels. Brian Boyd's going to be with us right after this. All right, lots going on out there in the world. You're watching Liquid Lunch on a terrific Tuesday on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. Brian Boyd's been with us before. He's a great friend of the show, and he's got a great, tremendous record of patriotism and working for our government in ways that probably most of us don't even want to really hear about. But we have Brian Boyd with us now. We thought we were going to have him yesterday, but I guess he wanted to be on Terrific Tuesday, so we got him today. He's got 30 plus years of professional intelligence analyst, counterterrorism specialist, former Green Beret, oversaw the Special Forces, SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force, and served in just a few departments: defense, justice, treasury, all the ones everyone's scared of. Brian, thanks for joining us today. Just a quick update. I know you're down in Florida. New York, we had the spike and the plateau. We've been dropping like a rock. It seems like the fire is burning down where you are. I know you're up by Naples. What can you tell us that's happening on the ground in Florida right now?
Well, as far as COVID-19, is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Well, the statistics are going up, and Governor DeSantis is on the news every single day talking about getting the schools to open in August, and now this teachers union is going to sue him out of the thousands and thousands being tested. I think about 2.5 million people in the state of Florida have gone through testing, and about 2.2 million have come back negative. So there's a couple 100,000 that have produced positive results.
Wow.
But, most of it's politics. We both know that, but the statistics are being questioned as to how valid they are. Some of the labs are saying it's 100% positive rate. Well, that's impossible. So now there's a lot of question of where the data is being collected.
Yeah, are they collecting it properly? Are they manipulating it? Are they not reporting it properly? Trump took some weird action the other day. He took the reporting of the cases on the COVID-19 out of the hands of the CDC and turned it over to the coronavirus task force. As someone who's been at all levels of government, that sounds strange to me as a layman. What does that sound like to you?
Well, actually, it makes more sense. The task force was originally established to have a variety of experts: the CDC, the Infectious Disease Institute, where Dr. Fauci is. You have the Surgeon General in there. You have a variety of expert scientists and people in the business who know the information. And like anything else, a task force is made up of a variety of experts, and that way they can look at the big picture. So I don't find any problem with that. Task forces were normal when I worked for the Justice Department. You pulled a task force together, you brought all the agents in from a variety of places in the country so you could focus as a group to solve the problem. You can't just rely on one particular agency or the other. We've already learned that hard lesson by listening to the WHO.
Right.
Bellwether.
Hey, Brian, let me ask you this on a little bit of a different subject. This whole Black Lives Matter thing, right? They've taken a sentence which everyone would agree with. Black Lives Matter? Heck yeah, you betcha. Of course, all Black Lives Matter, right? They've turned it into a hashtag that is really a front organization. That hashtag, Black Lives Matter, is a front for a group of Marxists who want to make our country a communist country. And they're hiding behind this truism that you can't win. If you say all lives matter, they get mad. If you say blue lives matter, they get mad. Isn't the real aim of this organization here to break down American society as we know it?
Yeah, that's the paradox. The guilt is being put back on the white people, that the black people have been obviously racially discriminated against. And that is true through our history. We also have had issues with the Hispanic history. But the problem is the Black Lives Movement as a topic is obviously a need to solve. But the movement itself has been hijacked by the Marxists, the founders of the Black Lives Movement. I saw Rudy Giuliani's take on it the other day, and he made a comment that one of those founders was prosecuted by him when he was a prosecutor in New York. So I think a lot of my black friends and a lot of black leaders don't agree with the movement as a Marxist group. They do agree that we have to do something about racial equality. Where I have a problem with it, I think most Americans do, is when they have protesters who have a legitimate right to protest. Back during Martin Luther King, we had the same thing, but nobody was burning and looting stores. So you have a lot of people unemployed who are not at ball games, not at church, not at work, who are going to these large gatherings because there's nothing better to do, that are gathering in with the protesters. And then the professional anarchists, the Antifa movement, the anarchists, the ones who are helping to push this movement, are using that as a cover to break into stores and loot and rob. I think AOC was saying that the reason we have crime is because of poverty. Well, if that's the case, why aren't they robbing bakeries? They're not. They're robbing Starbucks and things. And the other problem is this: when you look at the people that are being hurt the most, the event down in Atlanta, okay, you have a black police chief down there. She's good. She's been doing a good job. The paradox, however, is that the Wendy's that was burned down in the riots was black owned. In St. Louis, where they had the riots and the uprising there, the only person killed was a black police chief, former police chief, and a captain. The federal agent killed out in California was a black officer. So how do they can justify the Black Lives Movement, which is a good idea, but the movement as a hashtag, as you said, has been hijacked by the Marxists. And I think too many people who want law and order don't agree with what's going on.
I feel like you would be the best to tell me about if I'm crazy, and you know I'm definitely crazy, but I'm watching some more of this conspiracy stuff, and I almost feel like, you know, they're starting to talk about, you know, first it was Christopher Columbus, then it was Woodrow Wilson, and now Jefferson and Washington. They want to tear down our monuments. That's all a Marxist theory. And now they're talking about, you know, tearing down Jesus statues. And religion is the next step of taking away people's individuality. I almost feel like we're getting to a point where it's a struggle between just good and evil in this world.
That's pretty much the issue that we're talking about. Trump and the administration are all about law and order. This issue that's going on in Portland, you have a very liberal, left-leaning mayor and the senator and the congressman out there who's saying there are federal troops in there snatching people off the streets. And that's out in the media, and it's not even close to the truth, because if you listen to the acting head of DHS, Mr. Wolf.
Right. Hey, Brian, wait. I just want to stop you on that point, because I've been watching this movie. It's called Out of the Shadows, right? And they do a really deep dive on how the CIA has an Office of Hollywood Engagement. And they talk about how it's been a practice of the CIA for over 50 years to team up with Hollywood and big entertainment companies to program viewers' minds with false information. Do you think that's, I mean, does the CIA collaborate with Hollywood? Is there an Office of Hollywood Engagement?
I don't subscribe to that kind of conspiracy theory. There is some obvious connections, because over the years, Sylvester Stallone would come down to Fort Bragg. He'd talk to different people. Tom Clancy, who wrote a book with my former boss, General Carl Steiner, wrote the book Shadow Warriors. So they get a lot of their stories from the special ops business. A lot of the Navy SEALs, after Osama bin Laden's killing, started publishing books, and then they became movies. The obvious movie Black Hawk Down was based on the raid in Mogadishu. That was under Bill Garrison and Jerry Boykin. And Jerry Boykin's read a book called Never Surrender. So there is some interesting connections, but there's no, what I would call an attempt to bend the minds of Americans. I think more people are interested in the adventurism of it and the James Bond stuff and the thrillers of it. But to do it as a psychological warfare thing is an overstep. It's just too far. What I'm concerned with are the anarchists that plan these events. As you look into the surveillance of some of these events, and you see anarchists with baseball bats and trunks of cars and leaving bins of bricks and concrete on street corners to help organize these events. And you have team leaders in the group with headsets on, and they're actually organizing the breaking and the looting into these stores. Those are organized anarchy behavior, and that distracts the people who are actually upset with the racial issues, and it's turning the thing now into not worrying about George Floyd. They're more worried about the millions and millions of dollars of lost businesses.
Wow.
Look what happened in Seattle. Look what's going on in Portland. It has nothing to do with George Floyd anymore.
Nope. Sure don't. All right, Bri, I thank you so much. Your insights are always right on point, and I need somebody like you to keep me straight when I start getting too deep down the rabbit hole. But thanks so much. We got to have you back soon, brother.
All right, love to talk to you about the 2 Trump books when you got the time.
Oh yeah, well let's get him back on soon, Nico. Let's get Brian on to talk about the Bolton and the Trump Mary Trump book. All right, that's Brian Boyd, and we're gonna take a quick break right here. We're gonna come back and wrap up this second hour of Liquid Lunch. All right, welcome back. It is a terrific Tuesday. It's been a terrific Tuesday. It's quite the day, might I add. A little bit of everything today. You know, some Black Lives Matter, some taxes, some religion, a little Tisha, a little Brian Boyd from the law enforcement and government side. We bring it all together in a nice little package. But the last segment of the show, I used to say this often when we started Liquid Lunch, that every single day on Liquid Lunch we serve it to you neat, maybe a little dirty, sometimes on the rocks, but one thing is for sure, it'll always be straight up. So I want to keep, in keeping with our norms here of being straight up, during the show each day I tend to make mistakes. Some of them I make by accident, some of them I make on purpose to make you laugh. I pronounce people's names wrong. Often when I talk about Alyssa Milano, I say she hasn't been famous since she was on The Sopranos, but everyone knows she wasn't on The Sopranos. So I do silly little things like that. But one of the keystones of our journalistic integrity is protected every single day by the great minds sitting behind the control board, Nico, Jess, and now my daughter Ava, who's disgusted that she has to be on camera in this segment, but Ava's been hiding from photos for as long as she's alive, I think. If she can position herself in a crowd to not be photographed, she'll do it perfectly. So between the three of you, I might be older than all three of you put together almost, but I'm going to give you a chance to disrespect your elders and correct me on national television.
Okay, well, JT, I didn't catch too much today, but when you were speaking Spanish at the beginning of the show, you were referring to Ava's hair, and you said it was muy lindo, saying very pretty, but you should have said muy linda, because as a female, that's the correct way to say that word. I mean, I don't know as much Spanish as you, but I do know that.
All right, thank you.
No, you're welcome. And, Jess, anything?
Ava, did you think it was a mistake for me to speak Spanish in the car every morning? All right, Jess, she's got curly hair today, so I'm sure she's going to be savage right now, but go for it.
We told you the ASMR was creepy. Why did you try it again?
Well, we had some really strange numbers the day I was doing the ASMR tactics. So I thought maybe once in a while I could introduce it and see if it brings in new followers. I mean, look, let me tell you something. We have been getting a lot of new followers lately since I've been talking about this Pizzagate stuff. Everybody's into it. And the two segments that I'm talking about, Pizzagate and tracking down pedophiles and the global elites, the viewership is more than the whole rest of the show.
We also hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube yesterday.
Bing, 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 bing.
And 1,000 follows on Facebook.
Ba-da, 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 bing. Okay, we're making progress. We're gaining traction. Jess is doing an amazing job. She's now training Ava to do an amazing job as well. And Nico continues to shed responsibility and make like he's doing double the work for half the pay.
It's the greatest thing ever. We have a new intern, and I can't even help myself but delegate more and more responsibilities.
Okay. A few mistakes that my team made today. One is both of them know that they're periodically and intermittently on air right now. So I think neither of them have made any commitment to dressing a little better for the show. I mean, they look fine if you're behind the scenes, but I mean, if you're on camera, I mean, Nico's got his hair done now every day because he knows he's on camera, but still rocking the T-shirt. That was.
What's wrong with my T-shirt? I have it's like Adidas.
I'm kidding. I'm joking. I mean, you guys.
It's like the designer of sport clothing.
No, you know, listen, the 80s called, Jess. They want their tie-dye shirt back. He was like, Daddy, don't even look at me right now. No, I mean, you know, I let you guys savage me every day. I mean, could I throw in a couple of barbs here and there? Tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, more Liquid Lunch, and we're going to rip it up again. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.